I'm Ian O'Neill.
I'm Caoilte the Barra.
I'm Andy Stevenson, and you're listening to the Auld Triangle.
We're an Irish MMA podcast brought to you by SevereMMA.com.
From amateurs to pros, regional shows to Irish fighters abroad, we're all over Irish MMA.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, hit subscribe, and now let's start the episode.
Yes, indeed. Here we go. We are back. Episode 4 of the Auld Triangle. We're coming in hot this week with some Cage Conflict 6 talk. We're going to look a small bit at the previous Bellator Dublin, and we're going to have a look ahead at the Super Cup. Well, the Super Cup, which will probably have started by the time this has come out, but we were pre-recording it, but we're going to have a chat about that. My name is Ian O'Neill, as always. I'm joined by Andy Stevenson and Caoilte the Barra. Lads, how are we keeping today?
How's it going?
Bollocks.
A busy weekend, Andy. You know, you were up at Cage Conflict 6. I was watching along, and Caoilte looked at it as well. And let's waste no time. Let's get straight into it. I mean, a great card. We were really excited about the card before it went down. Some quality amateur fights, titles up for grabs. Also some great pro fights on it as well. You know, it's rare in this day and age that you get an all pro main card. So I was delighted to see that. Andy, you were up there. What was it like? What was the scene like up there? And how did you enjoy it?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great night of fights. And as you said, there was such a variety. So you had your amateur title fights, you had your pro fights throughout the main card, but also on the undercard. Now, I didn't make it up until it was kind of time for the amateur title fights to get going. So I didn't see the rest of the undercard, but I think there was something like 25 fights on the undercard even, or an insane number of fights. So across the board, they put on a fantastic show. The atmosphere was unbelievable, especially in the main event. Like, you had, I kind of had to take a second in the main event to look around, and like, you had on one side of the building there'd be a massive chant for Ger Harris. On the other side, then the not to be outdone, the Kieran Mulholland faithful would grow in voice and volume, and they were kind of competing. So it was a really great atmosphere. It was in kind of like a bar nightclub type venue, the Devonish. I'd never been up there before, but it was just a really good atmosphere. Like, there was I didn't see any trouble or anything like that. So it seemed, by all accounts, a good night of Irish MMA.
Yeah, indeed. No trouble outside the cage, which is good to hear, but plenty of trouble inside the cage. There's multiple fights, and we're going to tuck into it. I mean, was it good? You know, I know you're at Cage Legacy, Andy, and previously, and it's great to have crowds back. It seemed like watching the pay-per-view, it did seem like there was a real good buzz there, real good vibe there, real party atmosphere up there. I'm sure everyone was delighted to be getting back out and competing in front of a live audience as well.
That's exactly a party atmosphere is what it was like. So, like, having been at Cage Legacy and Cage Conflict, I'm not going to compare and contrast or say one's better than the other or anything like that, but they are different in that the Cage Legacy card that I was at, it was in like a hotel function room. So it was, well, there was less of a party. Like, I think there was a bar open and like you could get drinks and stuff like that. This was like you were walking into a nightclub almost at a Cage Conflict. So it was very much a party atmosphere. It was just different. It was different. The quality of fights, I'd say, were probably pretty even. Obviously this one's a bit different in that it's pro. But yeah, like it was just a really, really good night. I really enjoyed it. So yeah.
Nice. Well, let's get into the card. I mean, yeah, the first couple of fights we'll give a mention to, but you know, they weren't available on the pay-per-view stream. And Andy, you were getting set up and stuff like that by the time these fights. But just give a quick mention to Kieran McQuirk picked up a unanimous decision win over Raquel Gonzalez Garcia. James Wallace, another unanimous decision win over Rory Donnelly. In the bantamweight division. In the featherweight division, Joshua Allen picked up another unanimous decision over Brad McSweeney. In in another featherweight fight, it was Fergal Shivers picked up a unanimous decision over Pierce O'Callaghan. First knockout of the night came in the amateur bantamweight fight, and that was Elena McArdle, who defeated Tony Taylor. Michael Shields picked up a unanimous decision win over Aidan Duffy in the lightweight amateur fight. Conor Nolan picked up a unanimous decision win over Jack McAvoy. Stephen McConnell picked up a unanimous decision win over Jamie Diaz. And Kieran Heaney picked up the first submission of the night. It was at a catchweight bout of 132 pounds against Reinald Simajenskis. That's a mouthful, so apologies if I butchered that one. But it wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't butcher a name.
This is the Ian O'Neill reads names section of the podcast, by the way.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, we're going through a lot of these undercards fights. Kieran,
there's loads of them. I don't think we just
we're getting onto the
disrespectful, but
yeah, it was good to give them all a mention, I guess, at the start. But onto the pay-per-view, and that was the first one that we seen was Kieran Coogan, who picked up a TKO over Matthew McGarrigan. That was a good fight for Kieran there. He looked solid in there and got the KO in round 2. Moving on up, I guess the talking point of the undercard would have been that fight between Rory Burke and Craig McCracken. I mean, an unfortunate incident is the only way you could describe. Craig. It was
a sick fight.
A sick fight is right, no pun intended. I mean, Craig McCracken was up 2 rounds, or he was winning the first round, and he was up in the second round, in my opinion. Rory Burke found himself on the bottom, and next thing we know that Craig McCracken got sick over him, basically, and the fight was stopped. And the fight was forced to be stopped. One of the most strangest incidents that I've ever seen inside of a cage. Was there much confusion up there, Andy, when that happened, or what was the reaction to it?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's bizarre. You feel terrible for the two of them, really. It's horrible for Craig McGrattan because clearly it's whatever, a dump of adrenaline, or I don't know. I know that some of the most bizarre and kind of amazing commentary I've ever heard, where Noel O'Keefe was kind of saying, well, this is what I was getting at earlier on, folks. He has a propensity to puke in the cage. It was a bizarre scene. No one knew what was going on. Like, you could see in the look on poor Rory Burke's face as well, who got puked on. He kind of stood up and I couldn't hear what he was saying, but his body language was saying what the fuck's going on here? I've just been puked on. What do I do? You had Liam Shannon running around looking for disinfectant to try and get the cage sorted for the next fight. Chris Fields and the corner, the Team KF corner, had no idea. They were kind of furious because they just didn't expect that to be the end of the fight, and especially when your fighter's doing well. But look, it's just one of those things. I don't really know what to say about it other than I hope it doesn't happen again for Craig more than anyone, really. And
like you were saying, Noel O'Keefe did mention it, that it had happened before. So were you talking to anyone, Andy, about is it an issue that he's having, or what's going on?
I don't really know. I kind of had a few off the cuff conversations, but there weren't anything deep or anything like that. So whether it's nerves or just the adrenaline that this seems to, maybe it is something that seems to happen, and maybe it's just a case of, as time goes on, fighting more, and you become, I guess, more used to being in the cage, and maybe your adrenaline levels won't be as extreme, or I don't really know. But yeah, it's just a mad scene, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a bit of bad luck for Team KF, but they slowly turned their fortunes around, and that was when Ben Hughes got the unanimous decision win over Aidan Devlin, Caoilte. I mean, a really good performance from Ben. Really solid prospect there, and he looked good in there, didn't he?
Looked fantastic. One thing I noticed straight away, he's huge for a lightweight, especially for an amateur lightweight. He's massive. It was a surprise when they read out that it was for the lightweight title, but he looked very good. Kind of for a lad who's only had 4 fights, he's really impressive. I'm excited to see what he can do next, and kind of what fights are are lined up for him after this. There's some really good ones around Ireland. You can only imagine some of the names that you could throw out and match him up with, but we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, indeed. I'm looking forward to seeing him as well. On to the next one for the welterweight championship. Ben obviously picking up the lightweight amateur championship there with his win. For the welterweight championship, Troy Gibson took on Blaine McGill, and that was a real barn burner of a fight. I know Troy was getting in there looking for the takedown, few striking exchanges, and Troy was looking comfortable at times, but Blaine was always dangerous with those big shots over the top. Troy kind of had a little bit of a height advantage coming into here, so it kind of suited Blaine to throw those looping overhand shots, and he caught Troy on a couple of occasions and landed heavy. I'm not too sure if you've seen too much of this one live, Andy, did you?
Yeah, this was one of my favourite fights in the whole card. It was incredible. Big hot tub, Troy Gibson. Man, it was like Troy looked fantastic in that first round, and he really seemed to be taking control of the fight and doing all the damage. I thought it could have been stopped at the end of I'm trying to remember now off the top of my head how the fight went, but I think he had mounted at the end of the first round. It was raining down a lot of shots, and I thought it should have been stopped at that point. If I'm honest, I was surprised that Blaine made it back to his stool without the ref stepping in. But Jesus, he came out in that second round and started swinging, and he was landing. Like, I gave him that second round. I thought it was I absolutely thought he won the second round. Troy did very well to kind of close the distance and engage the grappling and kind of press the action towards the cage in the second round when he was taking shots. And I spoke to him about that. Like, he did acknowledge that he ate a few of them, but he came through that. And again, the third round looked a lot more similar to the first than it did the second, ultimately getting the finish in the third round. So a really, really great win. Not only because Troy came out so strong, but then I'm sure when you have someone mounted and you're raining down shots and you're expecting the fight to be stopped, that's got to. We were just talking there a minute ago about adrenaline dumps. That's got to be a bit of an adrenaline dump right there, where you think it's almost over, and then all of a sudden you have to go back out there again. So he came through the adversity in the second, and then he got the stoppage in the third, and not only that, but that's his fourth belt. So when I interviewed him backstage, he's absolutely massive. Like, I was kind of reading back I was like, hang on, just to make sure I have this right in my head, this is the welterweight title you've just won. But he was like, I'm not.
Yeah, I think I even
like
tweeted
heavyweight.
Yeah, I even tweeted at myself. He looks like he's a unit of a man, and he had the height advantage over Blaine McGill, and like you said, in round one, came close with a rear naked choke, ended up in the mountain, and that fight could have been called in the first round. But McGill, as you said, did come back well, and Caoilte, he landed a couple of he made the fight exciting, landed a couple of big shots before ultimately the fight was stopped. And what's your thoughts on Troy Gibson? He looks a really good prospect.
He looks savage. Yeah, he's one of these kind of, I think after his last fight, which one was it? It was the MAGA fight. I kind of picked up on him then, thinking, okay, maybe he's all right. Because if you look at his record, it's a nice looking record now, and he's really living up to it with that type of performance as well. And especially as Andy said, he came through the adversity of like eating some massive shots in that second round and then getting the finish. Another one with a bright future, I guess. Wonder if he'll be sticking at amateur for much longer, or
he says he's going pro.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the interview I did with him after, his eyes are on going pro. He in his mind, he's kind of done it all. There's not much more he can do. I kind of posed the question to him, FAI are not affiliated with IMMA. One of the divisions that was most hotly contested was the welterweight division, when you've got the likes of Colin Marr and Conor McCarthy and Jordan Fury and these guys. And I was like, how do you think you match up with these? He was supposed to fight Colin Marr, and if the fight fell through previously, but I think as far as he's concerned right now, perhaps he'll see some of those guys later down the road in the pro scene, but he's done it all at amateur at this point. 9-1 I think it is, and a 5-fight winning streak heading into transition into a pro.
Did he say what weight class he'd be fighting at pro?
He didn't. That's a good question. That's a question I should have asked.
Now, Andy, I should have watched the interview.
I haven't seen the interview as yet, but looking forward to going back and watch it. And as we move into the next fight, Keith taking on Julian Renault. I mean, me and you were waxing lyrical on Twitter, Caoilte, about Keith. I mean, this guy looks like a serious prospect, doesn't he?
Oh, he's class. Absolutely class. And don't want to fall in. It's one of those things that Andy said it before. We don't want to fall into the kind of trap of just hyping these lads up too much. But wow, he's 2020 last month even what we've seen from him is just incredible. His ground game is exceptional. I think saw Andy Hickey post on Twitter that his this lad's hips flexibility is it's inhuman. It's incredible. Every time I watch him, he just looks like he's getting better, and he impresses me more and more and more. And I'm pretty sure in this fight now with Julian, he actually put him to sleep, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Both of them started off with a great striking exchange.
There was some pace to start a fight,
unbelievable pace, and Kiko looked for me. What really stood out with Kiko is the slickness of his striking, his smooth transition and distance control, a really good jab, looked really comfortable on the feet there, and it forced one out to take the fight down towards the end of the round. And what I was impressed also by Kiko, he remained calm on the ground, but then going into round 2, he kind of probably had it in the back of his head that he might find himself into that position again, and when he did, he wrapped up that triangle and he put Julian to sleep. And showing great skills on the feet, showing great skills on the mat as well. I mean, an overall really great performance, Andy.
This was actually one of the fights I missed. So I was backstage doing an interview, and I was like, right, I want to make sure I'm out for that one, and I missed it. So I have no idea what happened, other than I was texting you guys being like, what happened there? What did I miss? But that's a good win. I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of Julian Renaud, to be honest with you, but what I was hearing was that he's a really, really good fighter. So I was looking forward to seeing this one to see, okay, well, Team KF are another gym, not at the IMMA National Championship, so how do they stack up against these type of guys? So Keith Keogh though, and wasn't it the Ryan Keogh fight at the IMMA National Championships where he was on his back for probably most of it, but was winning from his back as well, so he's clearly very comfortable from that position as well. Might be a little harsh for me to say, or not harsh, I guess, but someone like Julian, who isn't a part of the IMMAF setup, and we have seen Kiko who has, would it be fair to say that the experience that Kiko has garnered in the IMMAF Caoilte kind of stood to him in this fight?
Well, he's not had the IMMAF experience. He's only had the Irish national one. I guess so. If you look at the ones just from the nationals, then yeah, potentially, because he fought some very good opponents in Ronan Deegan and Ryan Keogh, and it's in such a small, short space of time as well that he's able to get those in, rack up that experience, and just get comfortable in the cage. Because the more you're in there, and the more fights you have, the more comfortable you're going to be, the faster you'll develop, and the more positions that you might not, the more awkward positions you can be in, and you learn a lot more, basically.
Yeah, 100%. In that, at the nationals, he did get that cage time, which I feel is always important. But I just thought he looked very sharp, very slick in there. And Julian had some good moments in the fight too. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately it was Keith who left with the featherweight amateur title. Carl McConway defeated Owen MacDonald for the bantamweight championships. Not the best fight, to be honest. A lot of clinching in that one. I mean, Carl McConway, it was a split decision. The fight could have went either way, honestly. I wouldn't have argued either way. A super close fight. One of those fights where I wouldn't have liked being a judge. Not all that much action there, to be honest, as we move on to the main card. Oh, no, these are all on the main card. Excuse me. Jared Burns. It was the first pro fight when he took on Robbie Brown. Burns making his debut, and I was really impressed by Jared Burns as well. I mean, I don't, like Caoilte just said, we don't want to be saying I was really impressed, but he put on a great performance there against Robbie Brown. Really, really dominant to get the rear naked choke win. What did you think of that, Caoilte?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect from Burns going into this, to be honest with you. But he was impressive. Like, you're coming against a lad who's got a heap of fights between amateur and then obviously he's the two pro ones before this. His last fight was against Kieran Mulholland. So he looked good. I'm actually quite excited to see him, and you know what, I'd love to see him versus Jar Harris. I think that would be a great fight now. I'd love to see that somewhere down the line. Both 1-0, it'd be a good one. And it's good to see, they flew Robbie Brown in as well. It's good to see lads from abroad being brought in to fight the local lads.
Yeah, Robbie came. Sorry, Andy.
No, I was just going to say, listen to this, right? Jared Burns has been fighting for 2 years.
Right.
2 years he's been training.
Right. That's insane. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
I was chatting to him after. Because he had 5 fights at amateur, and all wins, undefeated, 1-0 in his pro. It doesn't look like he's been fighting for 2 years. That's all he's been fighting for 2 years.
Wow, that is crazy. I mean, he showed it all in that fight. Robbie Brown came close with an armbar at the start. He stayed calm in that position and worked his way out. Started landing some big elbows and big punches on the ground as well when he got out of that position. In Burns in round 2 spent the majority of the round in top control as well. A really dominant round 2. And the cherry on top of the cake for him was, you're 2 rounds up. This is what I love to see in a fighter. You're 2 rounds up. You could maybe coast your way into a decision if you wanted to. Not for Burns. He went out there. He went and got the submission in the 3rd round, and I was really impressed with how he performed overall. You got the chance to speak with him, Andy, did you?
Yeah. I spoke to him after. It actually wasn't even in the interview. I was chatting to him after we had stopped recording. And we were just having a conversation, and I just asked, how long have you been doing this? Because he was saying that, I think he said that he was at the first cage conflict. So the first one he fought on was cage conflict 2, but he was at the first one, and then just watching. And then I'd like to get him on and chat to him and kind of get the whole backstory of how he started, but because it was a quick exchange. But then basically he went from kind of just being there watching to then starting to train and then competing on the next show, which is wild.
He's really been it's almost like going straight into the deep end with this.
Yeah. And so he's been on at Cage Conflict 2, Cage Conflict 3, Cage Conflict 4, every cage conflict since then he's been on, and he's won in every single show. And he's fought he fought Matthew Friel in his last one as well. Like Robbie Brown, he was 1-1 coming into this, so I don't know. I haven't really watched much Robbie Brown really. I think he lost, was it Kieran Mulholland beat him in the previous one as well. But Robbie, he looked decent in there last night. I don't know if he'd be a world beater or anything like that, but I mean, for someone who's just been fighting for a couple of years, it's crazy. So excited to see Jared Burns. Seems like a lovely fella.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to hear that, and look forward to seeing him again. Petru Pleza took on Sean McCormack in the middleweight division. Grueling first round between the two of them, I think. One thing that kind of surprised me was Pleza, in between rounds 1 and rounds 2, was sitting down up against the cage, looked pretty beaten, tired, and looked like his cardio wasn't going to hold up. But he came in for round 2, got the fight down, secured a head and arm choke, and got the win. So I was really impressed with him there. Any thoughts on this one, Caoilte?
Not much. I was actually surprised by the result, to be honest. I didn't really get to see much of Petru before, but after the first round, I thought, this is probably going to be Sean's fight. I expected Sean to win as well. And when he got taken down, he just didn't look like Sean was going to get back up. This lad he's strong. He looks very, very strong when he's on top. And they mentioned it in commentary that these guys from Phantom, they're tough, strong lads. They'll hold you, and once they're on top, they're not getting off you.
He had a back on him like a silverback gorilla bite. It was unreal. He looked super strong, but that pace that was set in the first round, I didn't think that he was going to bounce back, but he did. He bounced back really well, secured the arm triangle, and got the win over Sean McCormack, who falls to 1-1. Did you get to catch this fight, Andy?
I did. I saw most of this fight, if not all of it, I think. One thing I noticed at the end of round 1 was, going from the start of round 2 into to the end of it, was there was a big swing in momentum as far as their energy levels, is what I noticed. So at the end of round 1, Petru Pleza, he looked tired. He visibly looked tired. Like he had done decent in round 1, but Sean McCormack was kind of coming out. Like he looked like he was on his feet springing. All of his teammates were shouting, he's tired. And then Sean McCormack went out there and started landing some nice body shots, some nice strikes. But from there, once Plescu got a hold of him and started getting the takedowns, and he started landing some ground and pound, it was as if all of McCormick's energy was just zapped. And from there, it was just a slow decline, ultimately to Plescu getting the win.
Indeed, yeah. On to the next one, and Oblage Mirage came in to take on Taka the Kathmandu from Team KF. Taka's first fight, it was in the bantamweight division. Taka's first fight on the island for a while. I know he was looking forward to it. I know he was eager to respond after his loss to Huende at EFC. Came in, pretty dominant performance from Taka. I mean, Mirage didn't really offer too much, Caoilte, didn't he not?
No, they said on comms that he has this K1, national K1 background. I expected a lot more striking. I expected much cleaner striking, to be honest, from Mirage. Thought he'd be much better. I was hoping for more of a test for Taka, to be quite honest with you. But he looked very comfortable in there, Taka did, and he did what he was supposed to do. He got the job done, and he did it in relatively decent style. I think he's put in a small bit of, not bother, but an awkward position there in the first round. And then the second, second round, I don't think your man really wanted it, to be honest. He was looking at the ref at one point as well. I was thinking he's done here. Like, he's there for the taking in the second round.
Yeah, indeed. Like, Taka did land some really solid calf kicks early in that fight, and I think that kind of put the mindset on Mirage that he was like, oh, maybe I'm not going to match up to Taka here. And it's not easy to kind of, when you have a damaged leg like that, it was visibly like he was hopping around. Taka kind of, once he got him hurt in that with the calf kick, he went in for the kill, and I think he did leave his back exposed a little bit and found himself having to defend rear naked choke for the majority of the first round. But he came out in round two, was very patient, picked them apart, was well in control on the feet. I mean, didn't really face too much adversity in that fight at all. Did you get the chance to catch this one live up there, Andy?
So I missed the first round. So it was just kind of from what I was hearing from you guys, and I guess chatting to the team and Taka after, was, he heard him with the leg kick and he got his back taken. I saw the second round and I was very impressed by Taka. This one really looked to me probably how it should have looked, I guess, in that it's a what, 2-1 or 1-1. What was Taka going into this? 1-1, 2-1?
He was 1-1.
He was 1-1 going in, so he's 2-1 now. It looked like a 1-1 fighter getting back in the cage after suffering his first loss and just kind of feeling it out. Like, I thought he was levels above his opponent as far as his skill set, especially in the striking. He was really, the way I kind of described it afterwards was he dismantled him. I think he really dismantled him in the striking area. But there was maybe moments when he could have, maybe put it on a little bit more and look for the finish. But then, by the sounds of things in the first round, when he did that, he got his back taken. So a feeling out process and just, getting that cage time in there. But I mean, ultimately he beat his opponent to the point where he couldn't emerge from a stool for the third round. So all in all, a good night, back in the win column. And I realize I'm probably hypocritical with many fighters in this regard, but sometimes I think I need to, in certain cases, just let fights happen and not be worrying about the opponents and stuff until they're, there's a difference between someone fighting a can and someone fighting someone who maybe isn't on their level and they're maybe significantly better than. But I suppose these fights kind of have to happen for fighters to get cage time in there, get their experience and learn at the start of their career. So yeah, I mean, I think this is more just getting a bit of experience, and that's maybe something that I should look at when I'm looking at these types of matchups to say, okay, it is what it is. We're not going to learn a whole lot as where they are as a fighter, but we're gonna maybe see some new tools that they can throw out there, and maybe some areas that they've got room for improvement in.
In fairness, now when these guys are coming from abroad, they're unknown quantities all the same. So like, I guess in some cases, you could look at them coming over and thinking, all right, this lad could be, you don't really know what level he's at. So maybe it is a bit unfair for some fighters because you just don't know. This lad could come over and he could be absolutely like sensational. He's the next big thing. And all of a sudden, we've just found this hidden gem. But yeah, as you said, it is what it is. But he was levels above and I think he showed it. And the one thing I took from that for sure is like he's levels above a lot of lads, and he looks really good for a lad who's only 3 fights in his pro career. Yeah, I hope to see him back in EFC soon. I think he could make big waves out there in that promotion. They look like they'd take care of him as well.
Yeah, indeed. There's going to be tough fights for him out there as well. I think that plan is for him to head back out. But just to kind of piggyback off what Andy was saying there is getting the experience. And yeah, Taka might not have faced any adversity last night at Cage Conflict 6. But what he did learn is that I feel when he hurt Mirage in the first round, he kind of rushed to try and get the finish, which ultimately led him to getting his back taken. And I think the patience that he showed in round 2 was a lesson learned off that in round 1. So, those are the lessons that you kind of need to learn as a young fighter when you're starting off. So, there is some mismatches and that might bring us on to our next fight in the heavyweight.
Just before we move on, because I want to ask, because the likes of yourself, and you'd be more, and both of you know more about the technical side of the game than I do. When I look at Taka at the moment, right, I see, and now if Taka is listening, I am not comparing you to Israel Adesanya or John Jones, but I see a style of fighter who you're not going to see that big one punch knockout, or I don't see a fighter that's going to rush in there and just use blunt force to send them to send his opponents to sleep. I see someone who goes in there and picks his opponents off. Would you like to see him develop more of a game to where you have that in your arsenal, where you have that kind of the one punch knockout, where it's just maybe a little bit more, I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but chasing that a bit more rather than kind of sitting back and trying to pick opponents apart? Or is it just a different style?
I don't know. I think Taka would be a good man to ask that question too. Looking from the outside in, I mean, Taka is still finding his way and probably finding what works best for him, and that will come more with experience. Like, what I liked about Taka's stand-up game in particular is that he's comfortable on the feet. He throws a lot of feints as well. He thrown those calf kicks with real bad intentions, but I mean, when you're standing from the outside throwing that calf kick, you're in a lot less danger than when you're inside in the pocket, trying to land your punches and stuff like that, which you can obviously leave yourself open for shots as well. But I mean, that may come in time with Taka. The power, you don't necessarily have to have knockout power. You can slowly chip away at opponents, and I feel that's what he did last night. Rather than go for the kill, he slowly chipped away at Mirage, and ultimately Mirage was unable to continue into that fight. And it would have been interesting for me to see if Taka would have turned up the heat again in round 3, but I guess we won't find that out. But we're definitely going to see him in there again with some other competition, and he's going to have some more tests. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not too sure what you think about that, Caoilte.
Thoughts on it really, and that is maybe I think it would come naturally. I wouldn't really be too, in terms of hunting it, I wouldn't. No, I think if he's got a style, leave it develop, leave it kind of, as his career goes on, he's clearly got a very, very bright future. Absolutely fantastic fighter with really good ability. I think just as the more fights he gets, we might see it from him, might get comfortable, might find that it just might come with time. That's how I see it. And I wouldn't want anyone to kind of change anything they're doing at the moment if it's working for them, and if just leave it happen naturally.
Yeah, indeed. I think, the dangers of rushing or chasing that knockout are you leave yourself in some precarious situations, and he kind of did a little bit in getting his back taken. I'm sure if he was to go back, he might approach that situation a little bit different. But overall, it was a good win for Taka. He'll be glad to get back into the win column. He looked ecstatic after the fight, and congratulations to him. And I'm really looking forward to it. Looks like he came out with a fight unscathed. Looks like he's healthy enough to go again, and hopefully we get to see him soon enough as well. That would bring us on to the heavyweight fight of the night. David Priortrich versus Oliver Basil. I mean, this was a pretty one-sided fight. A little bit of a mismatch in my eyes, to be honest. A pretty easy win for Priortrich. Would you kind of be echoing those sentiments, Andy and Caoilte?
I missed this one for also, so I didn't see. I just heard. I went out and was chatting to the medic outside the room I was doing the interviews in, and he said it was quick work. But to be honest, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but without having even seen the fight, I looked up Oliver Basil's record, and it's not pretty. So I don't really have an opinion on this, but I'm not surprised.
I'm pretty sure I told you yesterday that that's probably going to first round finish. And look, I don't want to take absolutely anything away from David, but I remember watching, what was it, Oliver Basil's fight at UFL 5, and then you just look at where he's fought. That was at UFL. It's always mismatches galore there. He's at the wrong end of that one, and I as soon as saw the name, it just sprung straight. I was like, okay, it's going to be first round finish. Not exactly. It wasn't really a competitive fight.
Yeah, not at all. Like, I mean, David came in, massive power takedown, postured up, hammered him with punches, and the fight was over before it started, really. Which brings us on to featherweight fight between Scott Harvey and Kieran Breslin. And a good performance from Scott Harvey. He'll be definitely happy with that performance on his debut. Andy, did you get the chance to see this up there?
Yeah, I did. I was really impressed by Scott Harvey, mainly because he hasn't fought in, I think it was like 2 years and 3 months or something like this. And the fighter that I saw in there didn't look like he'd been out of the cage for that long at all. Like I was really impressed by the seamless nature and the smooth, the positional transitions in his grappling. He just seemed to be a step ahead of Kieran Breslin at almost every turn. He didn't force it at all, but I just think that his grappling was a level above. So yeah, I was quite impressed by Scott Harvey in his pro debut.
Indeed, and what did you think of the performance overall, Caoilte?
Pleasantly surprised. To be honest, he was an unknown package for me going into this. Didn't know what to expect whatsoever, and I sat up as soon as the fight started, and I was thinking, oh, that was really, really good. I was enjoying watching him. Look, he's still young into his pro career, so I'm really excited to see what's next for him. There's plenty of potential there.
Yeah,
he's after moving up to Belfast there. So he's with Owen Roddy and the guys in SVG. Like I think he came up from Primal MMA. Was where he would have started with Owen. So I know that he was doing a little bit of work with Fight Academy Ireland. I interviewed him after, and I was telling him that Pat McAllister was kind of joking around with Ryan Curtis after he walked out of the cage, being like, that's a win for FAI right there. So I don't know what the future holds for Scott as far as which gym he'll train in. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that progresses, because he looks to be one to keep an eye on anyway.
Definitely does. Like, really, really strong. Like the strength of him last night in comparison to Breslin was really impressive. Looks really strong in the grappling exchanges. He was close with a rear naked choke in round 1, got the fight back down in round 2 again, and he finished it by TKO. And I was very impressed by Scott Harvey too. That brings us on to the co-main event, which was another featherweight contest between Matthew Elliott and Michael Da Silva.
Did you lads see the walkout, by the way?
I did. I think a little bit, but you could shine a light on it a little bit.
Yeah, Matthew Elliott. I don't think he'll disagree with me. He's a mad bastard. He's a wild man. He walked out to Gotta Get Your Head in the Game, the High School Musical soundtrack, wearing a Troy Bolton Wildcats jersey. So that's how he.
See, none of that means anything. That means nothing to me. I don't have a clue about that.
That is absolutely amazing. I love it. I need to find a picture of that. I didn't cop it at all.
I think you have a video. You have a video or a picture of it.
Yeah, I don't think you can hear the music in the video, but I've stuck a video up on Twitter. He's a gas man. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get on to the fight.
I was excited to see Matthew Da Silva, a great fighter too. This is a great co-main event. We speak to Cameron Clements a little bit later on in the show, who has trained a lot with Matthew Elliott, and he expressed his excitement to see him compete. And it was a close fight, guys. I mean, fair enough. I think you could give round 1 maybe to Elliott, round 2 really close, round 3 really close, if I remember correctly. What was your opinion on the fight? Did you agree with this decision? I know it was obviously with a split decision, it's going to be disputed, but I mean, probably, I don't know. I would have not have liked to be in a judge in that fight, to be honest.
I thought De Silva won cage side. I thought round 1 was as clear as day, Matthew Elliott's. Now, I haven't watched this fight back, and scoring cage side is a bit, there were so many fights, especially that fight and the one at the top, which we'll talk about in a moment. They're so polarizing, and so like I'd have someone running up to me from one camp saying that's a disgrace, that's a hometown decision, whatever you want to, the usual stuff. You'll hear from the other side will have the complete polar opposite opinion. So I don't know what the right decision was. Looking at it from cage side, I thought that De Silva won in that I gave round 1 to Matt Elliott. I need to watch it back. I actually wasn't sure if that was a 10-8 round also, because he was really putting it on Michael De Silva or Michel De Silva. But anyway, gave him round 1. Round 2 was the closest one for me, and I think that's where it comes down to, because Matt Elliott did great work early on with his strikes, but De Silva had him for so long. He was searching for that. Was it a knee bar or a footlock? I think he was a variety of different ones, and it seemed like that round was going on forever.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to get him in a heel hook position there. Elliott kind of has his feet crossed over, kind of trying to defend that. And they found themselves in a kind of a 50-50 position where, Elliott is kind of just staying put, trying to defend, and De Silva obviously trying to lock in to lock in his foot under his armpit to get that twist on it, but it didn't really come close. Yeah,
I couldn't tell if he was close, because I also don't know that much about jiu-jitsu, so I couldn't tell, just being honest, if that was very close or not. So, if that's not close, then even though it's, I guess a dominant position, well, it won't score. So I could see how you could give that round to Matt Elliott because of the damage he did earlier on, and then round 3 was the complete opposite of round 1, where it was all De Silva. He got to mount multiple times. Not a whole lot of strikes from Mount, but was searching for subs. I think he almost had the head and arm choke at the end as well. So that was as clear as day for De Silva. But yeah, so what did you guys think of the decision from watching from home?
I wouldn't argue it. Wasn't exactly a bad decision, to be honest. The point you made about the 10-8 in the first, I'm probably going to watch that fight back after this now, just to look and think about that one a bit, because it's an interesting point, because he really...
People told me I was crazy when I said that cage side, so I also need to watch that back.
One thing that I do remember about round 1 was that De Silva was visibly shook from some of the strikes from Elliott. And it was like he looked really it was probably as close as the fight came to stopping in that first round, when Elliott was really pouring him on and showed some great boxing. And like you said, Andy, round 3 was probably a De Silva round for sure. We landed in Mount and was landing his shots there. I think what you said was maybe at the start of round 2, it could be what has won Elliott this fight, where, he was probably landing a few more shots on the feet before the fight found its way down onto the mat. In that 50-50 position, that's why it's called a 50-50 position, really. They're both of them are neutral. Yeah, De Silva had the heel hook position, but never really came close to locking it or securing it, nor did Elliott look in any way troubling or was grimacing or anything in that position. It was just kind of the both of them are nullifying one another. I mean, I think it was probably the correct decision overall, but I wouldn't be arguing too much either way if they got it. I mean, it was super close. It was all down to round 2. It's a fight. It's a round I'd probably like to go back and watch again. Live, I tended to agree with the decision of the judges on the night.
Yeah, Matt Elliott told me apparently he broke his hand as well in the first round. So yeah, that rough one. But just to kind of go back to I guess to assess Matt Elliott's performance, that round 1 I was so impressed by what I saw, because you know, I'm aware of his grappling credentials. I think he's even gone to the Commonwealth Games with Team Great Britain, or the Junior Commonwealth Games or something like that. He's represented them numerous times internationally and has won multiple national titles in wrestling. So I know how high a level and what the caliber of his grappling. But he came out and his boxing looked so crisp, so quick, and it was like I was watching a different Matthew Elliott than what I'd seen in his previous fight. You know, we saw him in Cage Warriors in his pro debut. It looked completely different. So whether that's down to working with the likes of Donald McNally in his boxing, or I don't know, maybe he's been up with the guys in Lanka Muay Thai or something like that, but it looks like he's been putting a lot of work in. And going against, you know, I called him a wild man and a mad bastard at the start of this. He's a big personality and he's a lot of confidence, and you know, he was talking a lot of trash in the lead up to this as well, taking a page out of Colby Covington's book, and I think he needed this type of fight. He went in there against a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Michel Da Silva's no slouch, and he got put in some very precarious positions, and I think this will be a fight that will really stand to him. I think this is a fight, it was a great fight, and we kind of saw everything, all facets of MMA in there. But I think it'll be a one that he can look back on and say, right, that's a fight where I learned a lot about myself, and you know, where I needed to go from here.
Big time, and the whole fact that he broke his hand makes it an even more impressive victory for me. You know, you're trying to deal with the grappling of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with a broken hand. You can't grip, you can't probably post on it, you know, so he learned loads of lessons. So a really good win for Matthew Elliott there, which brings us on to the main event. A fight that we waxed lyrical about for a long time. I was super excited. I was buzzing to see this fight as it kicked off, and it did live up to expectations. I mean, you know, not an instant classic, but a very, very entertaining fight and a very, very close fight. And let's get into it. I mean, there was a bit of drama after the fight. I mean, over the decision, I think I'll give my opinion on it. You know, I said it out loud on Twitter. I thought I was giving the advantage before the fight to Mulholland based off his slight advantage in the experience department. But Ger Harris came out there and looked like a killer on the feet and landed some really nice shots in round one. Mulholland took his back, was in control for the majority of the round, landing some shots there. I would have given that round to Kieran Mulholland. Similar enough in round two, Ger Harris comes up, opens up on the feet, lands some ferocious shots. Mulholland lands some shots of his own on the feet. I think the more immediately impactful shots were coming from Ger Harris, which is important in the scoring of a fight. And I think rounds two, even though Mulholland got his back again, Harris reversed it, got down, got out of trouble a little bit better. And I think in round three, it improved a little bit more. I think as the fight was going on, Harris was getting more comfortable in defending the grappling of Mulholland. And I would have scored a fight 29-28 to Ger Harris. And I would be leaning on the impactfulness of the strikes on the feet and the striking exchanges on the feet. Mulholland, he had some great positions in back control in round two or round three, but didn't really land too much damage in those positions. And super close fight again. And what was your view of it cage side, Andy?
To be honest, I haven't watched. I haven't had time to go back and watch any fights back yet. But I don't know. I really don't know who won. The first round, I thought that Ger was doing great work, ripping the body. Beautiful hooks, landed some really flush shots, but then, you know, sorry, did I say Mulholland there at the start? I meant to say Harris. I can't remember. Anyway, Ger Harris was landing lovely strikes. Mulholland showed his poise and his experience to then take it to the mat, to take the back, and then, you know, Ger was obviously standing up against the cage and had a backpack and Kieran Mulholland on him for a solid maybe 2-3 minutes of the round. Kieran was landing some nice shots, if I recall correctly, and looking for subs. So that one, I guess it depends on which you weigh up more. Is it the work that Mulholland did on the back, or is it the shots that Harris landed at the start of the round? I'm not going to give my opinion because I don't know. It was impossible for me to score. The second round, I thought, again, I'm trying. See, I'm in a weird spot right now where I don't really want to give an opinion because I don't remember everything fully. It's such a haze. But I thought that the second round was more. Was the second round? It was more so Harris on the feet. And then, look, I should probably just stop here because I don't remember it fully. So there's no point. I don't want to give an opinion on it. What did you guys think of it?
It was down to round 3 for me. I had it round 1 for Mulholland, round 2 for Harris, and then I would have scored the third round for Harris. Close round. I think Andy, you said you wouldn't mind seeing it run back. I think it'd be a good one to run back, but no, it was the damage for me in the third round that probably edged it for Ger Harris, in my opinion, anyway.
It was so polarized though, like, because exactly what I was saying just there previously. The FAI guys were convinced that Mulholland had done enough, and the Harris's side were convinced that he had done enough. So I think it's
I think that's fair for both sides to think to have, because that's how close of a fight it was. I know I might be a little bit nonchalant when I was giving my scores, but these were razor close rounds. I mean,
it was an unbelievable fight.
And Mulholland was landing on the feet as well. Don't get me wrong, but I feel that when Ger Harris landed his shots, they had more of an effect than when Mulholland was landing his shots on the feet, and that's why I feel we might have seen Mulholland going for the takedown or looking to try and initiate the grappling because he didn't want to be in those exchanges with Ger Harris.
Do you know what? I'll read you out my note. I was trying to rapidly take notes as this was going on, but it was impossible. So I'll read you out the notes that I have if that's any use. So I had round 1, beautiful hooks to the body and head from Ger. Kieran takedown, took the back on the ground, backpack as Ger is standing. Kieran landing from the back, body lock. Chance of Ole, big support for Ger, supportive chance for Kieran, contending chance for the crowd. That was when the crowd was going wild. Round 2, even exchanges on the feet. So again, I barely remember this fight at this point, but Kieran was landing as well. It wasn't all Ger in round 2, but then I have Ger got Kieran in the clinch against the fence, and a nice flush knee from the clinch from Ger. Another flurry of strikes, bloodied up Kieran Mulholland, landing solid 1-2s. Ger got a takedown, then Kieran took the back standing. So it was even. But I'm just saying, what's in my notes is the bigger moment. So whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. I'm not the one to decide that. And then I do recall in round 3 that Ger had some lovely. Like, Kieran was kind of putting the pressure on him, but Ger was kind of on his bike a little bit and then pouncing in with a 1-2, like a lot of lateral movement and then pouncing in, sniping in 1-2. But look, what a fight. Whatever about the result, both camps are kind of within their rights, as you said, Ian, to think that their guy won. And it was incredible. It was a fight that we talked about for a while beforehand, saying this is mad that they're both taking this fight, because it wasn't necessarily a fight that needed to happen, and most people wouldn't take that fight. So it lived up to it and then some. And I don't think either of them lost out of that fight. Like, I know Kieran Mulholland is he 3-3 now after that? He drops to 3-3, but I don't think Kieran Mulholland loses any stock after that one.
Not at all.
I guess the problem is,
like, Ger Harris is a serious prospect here.
Yeah.
And you have to give him absolutely unbelievable credit to come in here and fight someone like Kieran Mulholland in his own backyard and come in and perform the way he did. And I was really impressed by Harris's adjustments throughout the fight as well, where he found the ability where he had his back taken in all 3 rounds of this fight. And more so in round 1, but made sure that he didn't make the same mistakes in rounds 2 and rounds 3, was able to reverse, was able to go in for takedowns himself. I was really impressed by Ger Harris here coming in on his debut and picking up the title. I would have loved to see it another 2 rounds. If this had been a 5-round fight, I would have really enjoyed it. Probably would have told the tale of how the fight was going overall a bit better, maybe.
I couldn't agree more with you. And on the flip side as well, Kieran Mulholland, like, that first round, I was like, oh, like, Ger was landing a lot in that first minute. And I was thinking, wow, is this going to be one-way traffic? Kieran Mulholland grew into that fight. He grew into the striking exchanges to the point where he was competing just as much. Maybe not Jared may have been landing more, but it wasn't a case of that it was one-way traffic. Like, Kieran Mulholland was landing too. So, you know, a great fight, a great main event. Pretty mad that it was for a belt in Harris's first his first pro fight, and he had a great interview with me after. He seems like a great character too. So look, I feel bad for Kieran Mulholland, especially given the year that he had, the resurgence at Fight Academy Ireland. But this is nothing. This is only a minor blip. Like, I can't wait to see Kieran Mulholland fight again, and he's improving. So I can't wait to see both of them compete again, whether that's against each other or against others. And probably, you know, Ger Harris said to me, you know, I don't want it right now. I was kind of saying that immediately after. I was like, give me that rematch right away. I want to see that run back again. Ger Harris
definitely
said
watch it too.
Yeah, Ger Harris was saying no, like it doesn't make sense to do it right now. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Jared Burns, he got a win on the card as well at flyweight, so maybe Ger Harris versus Jared Burns or something like that. And I'd like to see Kieran Mulholland back in Cage Warriors also. I think he deserves a crack in Cage Warriors again. I think that's the place for him. I think he's a different fighter to when he was in there last, and I think that he'll prove that if he's given another opportunity. Yeah,
no shame at all. I mean, do you want to jump in just there? I just was going to say there's no shame at all losing to someone like Ger Harris, who is making his debut. But we've been talking about Ger Harris as a serious prospect for many years now. So what was your input, Caoilte, before we wrap up Cage Conflict?
It wasn't really to do with the fight. It was I just wanted to ask Andy, is like, what time did it finish up at? It looked like it went on pretty late, going by your Twitter.
I think I got out of there after 1. I think the last fight maybe ended up at, here, I'll have a look on Twitter. Here we go. It was at 10-1. I tweeted out, Ger Harris takes the unanimous decision victory. So it was around that, maybe 1:45.
That's some late night to be fighting. Do you know, I always wonder, like, it's tough. It must be tough when you're pushing past midnight and you're still preparing to fight after a full day of fights that started at 4 o'clock. It's draining. I'd say that'd be draining for the fighters as well. It's a tough slog, that.
Yeah, I was bollocks and I wasn't even doing anything.
Well, that wraps up. We gave a good solid hour to that card.
There's a full podcast just on Cage Conflict 26.
So we're gonna have 2 guests on it to see us out. What we'll do is we'll do a quick roundup and a quick look ahead at the Super Cup next. Obviously, Cameron Clements is joining us, who's competing in the middleweight class over at the Super Cup in Bahrain this coming week. And then we have Darragh Kelly on, who has recently signed a new contract with Bellator. We get his thoughts on that, his fight at Bellator 275. But before we do that, let's just talk about the Super Cup real quick. And maybe I'll bring it to you, Caoilte. Just, you know, a lot of stuff happened this week. We had teams pulling out. We had new teams added in. Could you just give us a quick summary of what happened this week? And a quick summary to what we can expect next week when the Super Cup eventually goes down. I believe it starts on Tuesday and runs all the way up until Friday, and March 7th or March 12th until March 19th. Oh, I meant it.
March 8th until March 12th, I think the competition is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week, is an understatement, to be honest with you. Chaos is not in a bad way, just kind of, it's been, you probably noticed everything's kind of been a bit mental. There's been teams changing. So to start at the very beginning, we had it was the original Schedule A teams. You would have had Ukraine, RMAU, Ireland, so on and so forth, Bahrain, you know, I can go on. But anyway, Ukraine, for obvious reasons in the world and what's going on, they're obviously forced to pull from the competition. RMAU, on the other hand, later in the week, there was a few questions as to if they would be competing. We've obviously seen it in other sports. If you look at the Olympics, the Paralympics, they're not allowed to compete there. IMMAF took the decision to suspend them from competition, and so they were no longer competing at the Super Cup, and they will no longer be competing. And then they had to pull out 2 more teams to come in and fill those 2 slots on very short notice. I do believe they may have been there anyway. Well, not there anyway, but there would have been maybe a bit of notice that if there was anything going to happen, or if there was teams going to pull out, that there would be a replacement sought, and some teams may have been ready in that case. But yeah, Mexico and Team Oceania are now in the competition. Ireland will no longer face our MMAU, which would have been an extremely tough draw, and will now face Team Oceania in the opening round of the Super Cup next week, or this week actually. Actually, the fight will be after happening by the time this comes out.
Yeah, we have to allude to that. The fight will be after happening. It would happen on the Tuesday. This will be obviously out on the next day, on the Wednesday. You alluded to Caoilte. It would have been a tough draw for Ireland facing off Russia in the quarterfinals. Obviously, Russia no longer taking part. Ireland taking on Oceania right now. What are Ireland's chances now? What are their renewed chances? I know it would have been tough to get through someone like Russia, but they're facing Oceania now. They have a different route to the final, perhaps, and they might be coming in a little bit more confident into this tournament.
Yeah, well, before I would have found it very difficult it's no point in beating around the bush to get past the original opponents. Would have been very a massive ask. Let's be real about it. They're the best. They're the number one team ranked. They were the number one team ranked with IMMAF for a reason. Like, you saw what they did at the juniors, you saw what they did at the worlds. They're an incredible, the team's always very, very strong, so it would have been difficult. I'd be looking at it now with, there's a big chance that Ireland can get to the final now, because you've added in Oceania. I feel like those fighters are taking this opportunity on very short notice. But they could also be an unknown package. So there's a lot of question marks. But if I were Ireland, I'd be very hopeful now of there's a very clear and hopeful path to actually coming out of this tournament with some good money that can be pumped back into, let's say, into the sport here and the development of the sport here.
I mean, looking at the tournament bracket as a whole, who is your favourites now coming into this? Would you label Ireland as one of the favourites, or Bahrain, Tajikistan? There's a couple of decent teams on the other side of the bracket. Overall, who are you looking at being the guys to beat, or the team to beat in this tournament?
Bahrain, straight up. That team is from top to bottom absolutely fantastic. You've got Ramzan Gitanov, pound for pound number one amateur athlete in the world. Looks unbeatable. He'll come up against Javedan Mamedov in the first round. That's probably Ramzan's toughest fight, and it's probably the toughest fight he's ever had. So yeah, then you've got Sabrina D'Souza moving down to bantamweight. I want to emphasize this. She is something else. She's incredible. One of the best fighters, one of the best amateur fighters I've seen. It was a pleasure to watch her live. We saw what she did to Michelle Montague. She beat her twice, and Michelle Montague is now, after winning her pro debut. But yeah, she's moving down a weight class to bantamweight, and then that entire team is just, I don't even think it's a full strength team, to be honest with you. But it's ridiculously strong, and they would be the ones to beat, in my opinion.
Nice. I'll come back to you, Caoilte. Maybe you can give us a confirmed team for Ireland who is heading over. And I just sent it over to Andy. I mean, the situation happened this week, Andy. Ukraine were forced to pull out for obvious reasons. The decision was made for Russia to be pulled from the tournament, as well as Belarus as well. I think personally the right decision overall was made. How will you feel about how the whole situation was handled by IMMAF?
Yeah, I ultimately think that the correct decision was made to not only for IMMAF to pull Russia and Belarus to suspend their federation's membership. I think that aligns with most of the sporting world who had already done similar, had already taken similar actions. And then IMMAF came out with a statement also saying that they wouldn't be comfortable competing against those teams. So I think ultimately the correct decision was made, which was great to see. I do think that the week kind of highlighted the immaturity, maybe isn't the right word, or maybe it is, or maybe it's just, it sounds like a bit of a harsh word, but maybe it is the right word, that the immaturity or the IMMA are a young organization, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. And I think they're a growing organization that is very much, they're trying to put their best foot in front of the other, and I think that they're doing a lot of great things. But I do think that the communication was slow, not just from and maybe this isn't IMA's fault necessarily, but I thought that the communication overall from IMMAF and from IMA was slow. We were seeing many other sporting bodies across the world. I mean, when the FAI has already put out a statement, we all know that the Football Association of Ireland are not known for making the right decisions a lot of the time. But when they have a statement out already saying, you know, we're not going to compete against any Russian teams, when FIFA, UEFA, at this point the Olympics had already made a statement, it seemed as if it was a waiting game. You know, who's going to make the decision? I would have liked to have seen Ireland, because I might represent Ireland, come out sooner and make a strong statement to say, you know, whatever the decision is made by IMMAF or whoever else, we are not comfortable. That's just my opinion on it. I do think that they made the right call at the end of the day, which is the main thing. But I think it's one of those learning moments where we can say, okay, this is a situation that we've never had to deal with something. And to be fair, you know, it's a group of people in MMA trying to do right for the sport in the country, so they're not going to be used to dealing with these kind of legal situations or political conflicts on a global scale. So like, I can completely understand that it was outside the norm, but those are the types of things that we're going to have to deal with if we want to be this, you know, the governing body of a sport in Ireland. We have to be able to present ourselves as such and to grow and to learn from these situations. So this isn't me ranting to say IMA are bad or anything like that, but I did think, if I'm being honest, that there was room for improvement with the communications this past week.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's pretty fair to say, Andy, and you know, a lot of different factors going in. One of them too being, you know, Brave being the ones who were holding the tournament as well. So I know there's probably talks between Brave and IMMAF, and then IMMAF and IMA and stuff like that. So, you know, ultimately, I think what you said was fair. I think it'll be a learning curve for everybody, but gladly, the right decision was made, I feel, overall. And I think that's what we're dealt with now. And, you know, I said I'll bring it back to you, Caoilte. We have a team heading over there. Who's heading over there to represent Ireland, and what's the schedule for the tournament?
Yeah, so Team Ireland, I think I would say pull up a graphic, but we have to. This is going out on audio as well. So we have bantamweight division for men's bantamweight is Jamie Abba-Bissett. Then we have for featherweight Jordan Bradshaw. Lightweight is no longer Andrew Barrett. So we were informed there earlier this week. Geez, lads, it's all a blur now. So we were informed very recently that Andrew Barrett is no longer traveling. So Lewis Byrne is going to take that spot in the lightweight division. Jordan Fury steps up for the welterweight. He got silver at the Nationals, but obviously due to Colin Maher being injured, he's unable to travel, and Jordan Fury takes his spot. The substitution for that division is none other than Conor McCarthy, who also impressed massively at the Nationals. And then we have Cameron Clements at middleweight, who actually joins us in this podcast to chat with us ahead of the Super Cup. After that, we got light heavyweight is Dennis Perry, heavyweight Gustavo Lopez, and then we have for the women's flyweight is Ava Cruz, and the women's bantamweight is Kerry Ann Vernon, with the substitute being Sinead Ninualan. So a very, very strong Irish team going over. And I'd be very hopeful that I think they're in a very good position to do very well in this tournament. There's some like really good matchups for them, I think, and I think they could go very far if things go their way. Well, this could be considering day one will be over by then, but by this time it's out. But we'll see anyway.
And they're due to, you know, day one will be over. They're due to fight on Tuesday, and then if they won, the next round of fights would be on Wednesday or Thursday.
I think so. I think first day of action is, I think opening ceremony is actually Tuesday. Day one of fights Wednesday. Day two of fights Thursday. Then break for the Super Cup. Break for Brave. So we'll have Brad Katona fighting that night. And then on the Saturday, I think they finish up with the final round of the Super Cup. I think that aligns. That's how it goes. So yeah, open ceremony on Tuesday. Let me get this up now and I'll just double check this. I should have had this. Sorry, lads. But I'm pretty sure I'm right with saying that. I put this together. Tuesday is the athlete check-ins, rules briefing, and opening ceremony. And then first day is Wednesday, and that's the first match between Ireland and the Oceania team.
Perfect. Well, with that, we'll head over and we'll talk to Team Rhino OMA representative who is going to be fighting in the middleweight division for Team Ireland at the Super Cup, and that's Cameron Clements, who joins us on the podcast, who joins myself and Caoilte on the podcast. Andy was away; he was up at Cage Conflict at the time of this.
They wouldn't let me in. I was barred.
You're not going to hear the sweet, subtle tones of Andy Stevenson in this interview, but myself and Caoilte hold court with Cameron Clements, and here we go. Here is the interview.
And now we are joined by the Irish national middleweight champion, Cameron Clements, who's heading off to Super Cup this week. Cameron, how are you?
Oh, I'm fucking buzzing. Hey, just can't wait to get going. I just want Wednesday to hurry up. Literally, it's just a waiting game now. It's that's literally the worst part. The fun bits when as soon as you're weighed in, you just get to go. So I just can't. I can't wait to show everybody what I actually can do. Like, there's so much stuff people haven't seen of me. I'm coming out to just absolutely just the wreak havoc. Hey, I just want to hear. I'm ready for anything. Like, if it's going to be a gritty fight, it's going to be whatever's there. I'm ready for it.
And this has all come around so fast between the nationals, winning the nationals, and now going to Bahrain as part of Team Ireland. What's that kind of been like, and what's 2022 been like, even at the Worlds as well? It's been a crazy time for you. I hear it's been flat out. Haven't even had a chance to bloody get settled at all. But here's what I want. It's the best thing. Like, keeping busy, keeping occupied. If you have a fight and you take load of weeks off, loads of months off, you never know when you're going to go again. And the thing is, every fight is worth so much, it's so valuable. The amount of experience you gain every fight, and everything, it's worth far more than just going and training and stuff like that. It's the wee aspects. You can be the big dog in the gym all the time, but when it comes into the cage, that's where you know exactly what works and what doesn't. Of course. And you're on about experience there, and obviously you've built up quite a lot of experience over the last year. I think you only made your MMA debut in June of last year, wasn't it? Yeah, I was actually meant to make it. I think, back in March. Well, there was a good few times I would have made my debut ages ago if it wasn't for COVID, but everybody, that for spanning works for everybody. But I was meant originally with the Clan Wars, it was meant to be March, and then COVID pushed that back, and it was an absolute handling. I think it was we were told it was 23rd, 24th of March or something like that, and then we were being told you might be fighting in 2 weeks, so you had to keep your weight down, you had to keep yourself fit and all that kind of stuff. And then it was okay, it's going to be end April. Oh, it's going to be start of May. And no, it's going to be June. And it wasn't Clan Wars' fault or anything. Clan Wars tried their best. It was actually it was a lot of stuff to do with the government and all that kind of stuff. But that was I think we worked it out. It was only a 21-week camp for a fight. So it was pretty nuts. I think my teammate at the time had about 4 pullouts, so he had 4 different opponents. So and just accepted every single one, and eventually got one in the end. But it was just absolutely nuts. So going there and getting that experience, it was brilliant. And all I wanted, if it wasn't for even injury in late August, I would be even more. I'd be even more active. It's really just get me opponents and line them up, and we'll just keep on going. Of course. And obviously you've had a lot of fights since then, but just to take it back a little bit now, how did you make the jump into MMA? Did you have a background in other martial arts, or how did you get into it exactly? See, with MMA, I've only been doing MMA for about 3 years.
like there was nothing really about my town that you could do when it came down to martial arts. Like I've always loved MMA. I've always been a massive fan of it. Like for years, like I couldn't even tell you. Like first time I started watching it, I've just like it would have been back like when like bloody Brock Lesnar was coming into it and everything. Like I've always loved the sport. I always wanted an opportunity at it. But before that, I played rugby to high level. Basically, played every level at rugby, playing many different positions as well. I did. I used to do. I compete a lot in swimming and just other aspects. I was always busy with sports and stuff, but like as soon as I got on MMA, there was nothing like it. Like the drive I had for it, the love I have for it, like it's all I want to do. It's my complete life. Like I don't fucking care about anything else. This is all I want to do. I love this so much.
And you've been doing fantastic at it, so it definitely suits you. You were saying about your hometown there where you're from, and obviously you train out of Team Rhino. It's not exactly the most, let's say, renowned gym for fighters. It's quite a small gym. You seem to be probably the most prominent one out there at the moment. Can you tell us about the gym and what it's like training there, and maybe other places you train as well?
Oh, sorry if there's a bit of noise. Sorry. Like the gym literally started 3 years ago. Like I went to the very, very first class that the gym actually had, and at that time I was 110 kilo, so it was a big difference for me. And like I had a wee bit of K1 experience as well. Like I was jumping in doing a few classes a week and stuff and had a fight in it, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't to the level of what the MMA went to and stuff like that. When I went into MMA, it was like you were putting everything into it and stuff, and we were building teams and stuff as well. And look, it was like especially during COVID or just before COVID, we were kind of building our base and stuff like that. And then after COVID, we've really just shown exactly what level we were at. Like the boys have always been working hard at the club. Like if anybody's seen how hard this team works, like it is pretty ridiculous. We've so many fighters from a town that literally had nothing. Like you would, if you were wanting to go and do MMA, you'd have to be driving at least 50 minutes down the road, either to Derry or to Cookstown or something. Like there was no there was nothing near, and especially when you're a teenager and you've no car and hard to get lifts and all the things. Like it's going to be difficult to go to those kind of things. So I was very fortunate that it literally opened up right beside the gym that I used to train at, and I just fell in love with it. Like, so it was unbelievable.
And obviously, you mentioned to us as well that you trained a little bit of you're training wrestling with Matthew Elliott. How did that come about? And do you train somewhere else at wrestling as well? And do you compete actively in it?
I actually started wrestling. Wrestling was actually one of the last things I kind of like sort of really pick up. Like we always did the BJJ aspect, and always kind of had a bit of probably natural wrestling when it came down to it. But we really just picked up the wrestling when we got our other coach Bruce. Bruce is he's an absolute legend. He's like you literally just lived down the road. I started going to him before COVID. He was about 40 minutes down the road, but then he's now come and joined part with becoming the wrestling coach of MMA. He's actually a 2-time NCAA champion. He's American, but his family's originally from here, so he moved back here, and he's just class. He's training off the Schultz brothers, all those kind of things. So just kind of fell in love with wrestling with Bruce. But Bruce was the one who brought about. He helped to pioneer I think it was the Northern Ireland wrestling team. So that's how I started wrestling with Matthew. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to train as frequent and as recent because of injuries to me, and then just of how active I've been and stuff like that. I haven't had a chance to jump back in, but I'm looking forward so much to being able to get another role from him. He's good at the tying people in knots and stuff like that. So here it's sorry, 1 second. Dogs are going nuts.
You're okay.
Sorry. No, hopefully I'll get another chance to train him. Hopefully he gets a big one tonight. Like he's been even just like talking to him, like we're always talking on Instagram and always supportive of each other and stuff like that. So me and him have plenty of fun with each other anyway. So it'll be good to have another catch up on.
Very good. And so just going to touching the nationals there. What you went up a weight class and went to middleweight. What was the decision behind that? And how did it feel to win gold and come out on top?
It was literally because that like when I went to the IMMAFs, that was the big issue was really my weight and stuff like that. Like I'd never competed in at 77 kilo in anything. Like I hadn't competed like BJJ competitions, hadn't competed in MMA at 77 on the same day weigh-in. I'd only ever done the day before with the amateurs, so you can get away with a lot there and you have a full day to recover. But when it's the same day weigh-in and you've only got a couple hours to recover, you can't rehydrate the same. You can't get away with as much things when you're going there. So like, to be honest, when I was going through it, I should have been, to be honest, I should have been able to make the weight and stuff like that. I was just it was just a big learning curve, and next time if I do ever go welterweight again, there'll be a lot more work put into it. There'll be a lot more science playing, a lot more like I'll be going to get myself a proper nutritionist, somebody I can like lean on a wee bit and make them hold me accountable for what I'm putting into my body and stuff like that. So that would be a big factor change. But to be honest, going at middleweight, like I was weighing like 2.5 kilo under the weight limit. Like I was tiny in there, and I still felt like the bigger man. Like I always felt like the stronger man. Like always felt that there was nothing that these boys could do to me. Like I'm just going to go straight through them and stuff. And that's the same mentality I'm bringing into the Super Cup. Like I don't care. These boys can be 7 foot tall. They can be double my weight. I'm coming straight for them, straight for the fucking fruit.
I love it. And I might just bring in Ian there and see if he has any questions for you.
Yeah, I'm just curious, Cameron, about the Super Cup, the preparations. Obviously, you are getting prepared to take on Team Russia, who had to or who were pulled from the tournament. You've switched up to Team Oceania now. For you in your preparations, does that really matter? Was there something you were like, obviously, going up against the Russian team, you would be expecting to face off against some wrestlers and stuff like that. With your preparations, you more so like focus on yourself more so than who you're competing against?
Well, that's the way I always go into every fight. Always competing. I'm always focusing on myself even more. Like at the end of the day, when I go in there, they have to deal with me. Like that's the big thing. Like it doesn't matter where they're coming from. I'm gonna implement my game, especially when I'm myself. When I can actually do what I can do. Like I'm full of energy. Like there's no there's no excuses. It's just me in there, just my ability, my skill. It would have been a tough fight. It would have been I was wanting a challenge because, man, like, it was going to be experience I was going to pick up and be able to use it like further down the line and stuff like that. Like, it would have helped bring me on levels. But here, it doesn't matter who I'm thrown in against in this tournament. I'm coming with everything I fucking have. And look, it doesn't matter what rating anybody's given, whether it's the fucking number 2 in the world, number 1 in the world. I don't give a fuck. I'm coming for all these cunts.
Nice, I love it. I mean, just to go a little bit back to the World Championships, Cameron. I mean, obviously it didn't go your way, or you would have liked to maybe pick up a win there and stuff like that. What kind of mentality did you bring into the Nationals, which obviously, a much better tournament for you, picking up that middleweight championship, and then maybe coming into this Super Cup? What are you bringing into that from the National Championship? So if you could go back and maybe go explain about what happened with the World Championships to the Nationals and what you're bringing in here to the Super Cup.
No, really, after the World Championships, I just knew in my head, just need to get to these Irish Championships and just show that wasn't me in there. Show how I really can perform and stuff like that. All it's done is just give validation. It's give me more confidence, more assurance of, like, the fighter I actually am, like what I can actually do to guys when I'm ready, like when I'm myself. Look, those nationals, like, it was great. It was great for the experience of it and being able to get that fighting multiple days and stuff like that. But this is going to be a whole different challenge. So I'll be ready for it. I'm not expecting it to be the same. I'm expecting the absolute toughest fights, the absolute best opponents. I'm expecting the best out of everyone there, and that's what I want. I want all these guys coming at me at their absolute peak, so I can show exactly what I can do against them, even no matter how good they are.
100%. How do you see Team Ireland doing overall? It was it's no doubt it was a tough first draw originally with the new lineup, and you could be facing Oceania and Mexico, or the Arab champs in the semi-finals. Does it, like, I know you're obviously going in to win it, but is there a new kind of lease of life with the new opponents, the new setup, and how do you think Team Ireland are going to do overall?
I do actually think we have a very strong squad. Like, there's a lot of fighters there, and here they've completely earned their place, and like they fought for their places and stuff. So you can't say that they haven't earned it. Like, there's a lot of boys here, and they'll bring a challenge to anybody they fight. Like, no matter who they are. Like, there's not one person in this team you could say is an easy fight for anyone. Everybody's going to be bringing it, and I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what they do. Like, some of those fights that were being put on in nationals were unbelievable. Like, so imagine what's going to happen when the pressure's put on and they were fighting right at the very, very, very top. It's going. All I can see is the boys performing even better.
Yeah, nice. And just for yourself, baby, I know all focus is on the Super Cup right now, but what do you see yourself, like, where do you see yourself for the rest of 2022? What are your eyes on? Europeans are coming up maybe later on this summer. Is that what you're thinking of ahead of the Super Cup?
Yeah. Just the biggest things coming. That's what I'm looking like. Get as much IMMAF experience, get if there's titles in Ireland or something like that, I'll come for them. Like, just here, look, absolutely everything. Like, I want every challenge. I want all the toughest experiences. I want just the whatever it takes to get to the top, to get to where I want to be. that's what I want to do. I don't want to be sitting about messing about for a couple of years doing this, doing that. I'm wanting to go directly to where I want to be, and that is the top.
Lovely.
It's absolutely perfect, Cameron. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us today. Best of luck with the Super Cup. We're looking forward to seeing you all in action, and we'll hopefully speak with you again soon.
No worries. Let's go, Team Ireland.
Yeah, let's go. We're excited to see you, Cameron. Excited to see Team Ireland, and the dogs are excited as well. Over there, they're buzzing for it. You kind of have Ireland's version of Alex Volkanovski here now, with your move from rugby over to mixed martial arts. So hopefully we'll see you successful as Alex down the line as well. So fair play to you, and all the best over there.
Thank you.
And yes, it was great to hear from Cameron Clements there. Looking forward to seeing him perform. Looked really solid at the national championships, and I'm sure he'll be looking to put on a show at the Super Cup as well. A top talent, representing Team Ireland there for the Super Cup. As we move along to, we won't hang around too much and talk about Bellator Dublin. I think Sean and Graham spoke very well about Bellator Dublin on the main podcast. One person we wanted to speak to was Darragh Kelly, who really performed well at Bellator 275. Last week, it was announced that he was signing a multi-fight deal with Bellator, which I was delighted to see. A real top prospect, Andy, Darragh Kelly is. I mean, coming in to his pro debut, had a lot of hype on his back, 9 fights, 9 finishes, and he kept that streak alive in his Bellator debut, and was duly rewarded a contract, a well-deserved contract too, a multi-fight deal, which he talks about on the interview ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I was very impressed by Darragh. As you kind of summed it up nicely there, he's just a finisher, and he looks like a scary prospect. So I'm very interested to see how he progresses. We talked to him a little bit in the interview about, how do the next few years of his career go as far as activity. He signed the multi-fight deal with Bellator, but as we are all aware, it's kind of February and then September. So I want to see him fight frequently, and I want to see those incremental increases as far as level of competition. So I'm very, very high on Darragh Kelly, but a tempered excitement about him, because I feel like I'm very excited about 20 different Irish fighters, and then we just need to pump the brakes. I need to pump my own brakes often because I get too excited about them.
Oh, sure. If you can't cheer your own, who can you cheer? But I know there's a lot of talent coming through, and I think Caoilte, it was off that Bellator 275 card, there was an announcement of Darragh. Maybe a few more will get signed down the line as well, but they were quick to snap up Darragh there, and it's no secret why. He brought some great support. We spoke, like Andy said, he wants a quick turnaround again. Bellator only have 2 shows in Ireland per year where we get to see this Irish talent. He speaks about other European cards that maybe he might be looking to compete on. I think it's important for Darragh, especially with the bad luck he's had with injuries, to kind of get going and get moving and get those fights under his belt.
100%. I'd love to see him fight on maybe one of the European cards, as he says in the interview. And you know what? In that contract, if he impresses, I'd really like to see him get the opportunity to fight stateside. I think that would be really cool. We see it, I think it'd be a test as well. You could get someone local. I think that would be really good. And really excited for his future. Seems like he's in a good place with Bellator, and long may it continue. Hopefully we see him again soon.
So let's get to the interview with Darragh then. We won't waste any more time. Recently signed a new contract, Bellator lightweight, Mr. Darragh Kelly. And now I'd like to welcome to the podcast Bellator's newest signee, lightweight fighter Darragh Kelly from SBG. Darragh, how are you doing, man? Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How are things? Congratulations on the new multi-fight deal. You must have been happy to finally get that signed off after your fight.
Oh, delighted to get the deal, and such a big promotion. Dream comes true.
100%. Look, you're from Moville and Donegal, quite beachside town up there. I'm curious, Darragh, you know, it probably wouldn't be known as an MMA hotbed up there. How did you get into the sport? And I know obviously you spent some time in Letterkenny as well over there with Heel and Gracie, but like, did you start looking at MMA at a young age, or how did you get into the sport and end up competing in it?
No, there was nothing around me. Like, I think the closest is a boxing club about 20 minutes away in Kieran. I think that's about the only thing that there was around here. But I was getting in trouble all the time for fighting on the street or nights out, or I thought everyone was telling me you better just do it for real. So I moved to Letterkenny and I joined Heel and Gracie, and I just went full time ever since.
Nice. And what's that gym like up there in Letterkenny?
Oh, it's great. Brian Coyle's the head coach. He's the owner, and I think he's a first degree black belt under Helian, so he knows his stuff. Like, and he's a great coach. There's a lot of members up there. We had a boxing coach, Rory McShane, again, great top level boxing coach, and Paul Pike was a kickboxing coach. So it was a solid gym. It's just on a smaller scale. There wasn't as many people competing, so I had to make the move down to Dublin then.
100%. And I mean, was it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu something that you fell in love with? I know, were you choking fellas out on the street, or were you boxing on the street? Or
No, so it's the other way about. I just had a big overhand right. But I enjoyed the jiu-jitsu then. That's 80% of the classes in the gym were jiu-jitsu, so I took to that quick and I fell in love with it. So
yeah, and like, you had a storied amateur career, obviously 9 fights, 9 finishes. Yeah, you're a guy who likes to go in there and get the job done. Were you happy enough to fight on the regional scene? Obviously, you made your amateur debut in 2017. There was plenty of fights and stuff like that are in and around that time, plenty of action on the island. I mean, what made you choose to just maybe fight on the regional scene in Ireland, as opposed to the way some people may take the route down the IMMAF route?
Well, I don't really think I had the opportunity to get on the IMMAF squad. Maybe I did. I don't know. When I was training in Letterkenny, it was something that never really crossed my mind. I didn't know about trials or whatever. I never got invited, but maybe I had to sign up for it. I'm not sure. But when I went down to Dublin then, I went to the trials last year and I got picked as the number 1 seed to go away, and I was all ready for that. But then I tore 3 ligaments in my ankle, so I had to get an operation. So I would have liked to gone over. I think that was my last chance, but obviously now that I'm pro, but things just worked out the way they did. And
it worked out pretty well for you, really, overall.
Well, it worked out pretty well. Is right. I'm here complaining.
You made the move down to SPG, Darragh, in 2020. Is that correct?
I actually went down in 2019 for 1 session, and I was all ready to move. And I done a jiu-jitsu competition like that weekend then, and here's me complaining again about tearing this and tearing that. I tore my ACL, so that put me on the sidelines for a year. That's why I wasn't very active in 2019. And then that put my move back a full year. So,
yeah. And you mentioned that actually, we'll talk about your fight with Junior Morgan, but after the fight, you said it was a frustrating couple of years with injuries. You were trying to pick up a head of steam and stuff like that. So must have been a difficult time for you around that time with all those injuries, hey?
Well, yeah, it was difficult. The ACL was very bad because I couldn't do no rehab or nothing. I bust one of the veins in my knee at the same time. So I literally couldn't bend my knee for 3 months, or it would fill with blood, and it was agony. So that was very tough at the time. They couldn't give me an answer to why it was happening, or they couldn't fix it. They said just to wait it out. So I literally sat in the couch for 3 months with a straight leg everywhere I went. It was a disaster, but I got out the other end of it, and I'm as bad as it is, I'm kind of used to being injured, and it doesn't affect me too much. I just get through it.
Yeah, indeed. So you were due to fight on the last Bellator card, November. The fight fell out at the last minute. It was against Junior Morgan again. That must have been disappointing at that time, was it?
Oh, I couldn't believe it. I think Jude came to me and told me at about 2:00. I had done the ceremonial weigh-ins and everything. faced off against him, ready to go, and then for that to happen, I was like, oh, couldn't believe it.
Yeah, ridiculous. I mean, yeah, it's very unlucky. But you did get the opportunity to fight him a couple of weeks ago at Bellator 275. Was there any worry coming into that fight? Was it a niggling thought in the back of your head maybe that he might pull out at the last minute? I know you were fairly skeptical of his pull out the last time, perhaps, but
yeah,
was there any doubt there maybe that something might happen again, or were you worried about that?
Well, if I had my way, I wouldn't have signed to fight him again. Like, I would have chose someone else, but just in case. And everyone I met was like, "Oh, sure, he's not going to show up again." Blah 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 blah. And I was just hoping he would, but as you said, it was on the back of my mind. I made sure to tell him that when I seen him. I said, "You better fucking show up this time."
And so that would mean like Bellator were pretty insistent that you were going to fight him again. You were hoping to fight somebody else.
Yeah, they wanted me to fight him.
See, well, you got the chance. Yeah, he did show up. You went in there, put on a hell of a performance in there. How do you assess that fight? Did it go exactly as you planned? I know you like to visualize. You like to kind of like same as a lot of fighters, like visualize how the fight may go. Did it go down as you visualized?
Yeah, exactly what I planned. I didn't think it would be over that quick. I thought maybe the end of the first, early second. I thought he might have had a bit more fight in him, but that was the plan. Calf kicks, heavy shots going forward, and big double leg, and finish him when I get there. And I finished him a bit sooner than I thought, but that was the plan. Yeah.
I mean, like your game plan, they're ferocious calf kicks. I mean, unbelievable. Are the calf kicks kind of set up for you to get in there, to get your opponent thinking about it so that you can get in there, take him down and do your thing? Because, throughout your amateur career, that's what we've seen with you. You like to get guys down. You like to really rain down with some ground and pound. Yeah. Or would you be like, would you want to be showing your striking a little bit more in future fights? I know you said that you wanted to unleash an overhand right that you didn't get a chance to. So that one from back in the streets.
The street special.
Yeah.
Well, as you said, yeah, it does take their mind off the takedown coming. Like, I kick very hard. My striking's there. It's dangerous. I throw heavy shots. I hit hard, but I don't plan on showing it unless I need to. My game plan's put you on your back and rain down heavy shots, as you said. So, but maybe someday some man will stuff a few takedowns and you'll get to see a bit more.
Yeah, I look forward to that day. I mean, looking back at the fight, Darragh, you got the takedown. You were getting into a good top position, landing some good shots, securing the guillotine choke, and you could hear the crowd going absolutely insane. You could hear the olays. How was it that feeling during that moment? Were you paying attention to the crowd at all? Were you feeding off the crowd, or were you just focused on getting the finish at that moment?
Oh no, I was taking it all in. Like, I could hear everyone. I hear them singing, and then as you said, the ole ole ole. I could hear everything, and it's a special moment for me. Like, the pro debut. Like, it does sound funny. Like, I'm obviously happy I finished them that quick, but I would have liked to land some big shots before I finished them. Put on a real show. But the crowd was incredible. Like, I'll never forget it.
Unreal. Yeah, I will have to ask you, did you get your gum shield back?
No, I fucking lost the gum shield. Fucking €40 down the drain.
That's it. I was like, oh man, when I was watching back, I was like, you might regret that after the fact now.
I watched it back. I didn't even remember. I watched it back. I was like, why the fuck did I throw away my gum shield?
You just got in that moment, man. I guess it's an accumulation of a lot of hard work and something that you've been dreaming about for some time. So I think it's forgivable to lose yourself into that moment. But someone has a souvenir now from your professional debut.
Someone has a fucking slobbery gum shield.
That's what I always wonder. It's like, I wonder why someone would want to pick it up after being in your mouth.
I fucking when I went back in around the back for the medical afterwards, they're like, how did the fight finish? And I had to think for about 30 seconds. I couldn't even remember. You're that full of adrenaline. You're not thinking, like.
100%. And someone was there that you said helped you and kind of gave you the push to go into the sport, and that was Conor McGregor. How was it to meet him? I know he greeted you before, maybe after the fight as well, and wished you luck and stuff. And he was there watching the fight, supporting you. How was that feeling?
Oh, fucking, it was unreal. Like, I was the biggest Conor fanboy in the country. Like, um, oh, incredible. Like, and then everyone at home thinks we're big pals now. And I'm just like, oh, Conor agreed you would just be friendly. I was just like, it was incredible. Incredible.
Nice. You know, you're saying in your post-fight interview, you wanted to be active this year. Now you've signed on with a multi-fight deal for Bellator. What's the plan next?
Well, I'm fresh. Like, I didn't take no damage from that fight. So I'm going to get a good chat with John, hopefully this week now, and then just try and get out as soon as I can.
Yeah, would the plan be for you to maybe fight on another card somewhere else? Like maybe go over stateside or something like that? I'm sure Bellator will be coming back to Ireland, but that might not be until maybe later on this year, around September or something like that. I know you probably don't want to wait that long, do you?
No, that's what I'm hoping, that they don't keep me on the sidelines that long until that show, because I want at least one in between. And then if I can get one after that again, that would be my ideal situation, 4 fights this year. But I get a good chat with John this week now, and then I'm just hoping that I'm not in the sidelines until September, as you say.
And, are those conversations that happen? Because I think one of the, I guess, not criticisms, but one of the things that we've noticed is that they tend to go with the February show and a September show, and there's no real divergence from that. Like, they book the 3 arena, and then we tend not to see Irish guys competing in between then. As someone who is looking to stay active, did you have to weigh that up or take that into consideration before signing with them?
No, to be honest, I didn't. I didn't think too much about it. I signed first, thought later, but
yeah, sure. It's easier said than done in the moment.
I know.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you as well. I saw that you met Fedor in the hotel. Was it on fight week? What was that like?
Yeah. Now, there wasn't too much out of him, to be honest. Now, there wasn't much crack out of him. But
you didn't go for a pint, no?
No, he wasn't up for the pint. No, unreal. He's arguably the most, what would you say? Not the most famous, but one of the biggest names in the whole sport in history. Arguably one of the GOATs. Incredible to meet him.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me. I think that we're at this point now. Like, you talked about being a huge McGregor fanboy. It seems that we're at a point now where there's a whole new generation of fighters coming up like yourself who would have been, I guess, teenagers at the time when Conor was coming to rise. Like, were you a big UFC fan before you became a fighter, or were there any fighters that you say looked up to? Maybe obviously McGregor, but aside from McGregor too.
I like George Masvidal a lot now. Jorge Masvidal. He was probably my favorite fighter other than McGregor, and Cody Garbrandt. I think they were my 3 favorite fighters now when I was a teenager.
Is that why you got a tattoo today? Is it?
That's why I got the tattoo. Yeah. I have to copy. You can't be a fighter without tattoos. Like,
what tattoo did you get?
So I'm from Inishowen, 33rd County, as you say. So it's the peninsula at the north of the island. So I got that on my calf.
Brilliant. And what was life, I guess, like growing up? Because to me, as a city boy from Dublin, like, it seems like the back arse of nowhere, to put it bluntly. What was like life growing up? Where you said there weren't that many opportunities as far as MMA or things like that. So, what were you playing football growing up? Were you playing hurling? What was life like?
I played soccer. I live like 25 minutes away from Derry City, so I played soccer with them. But I was quiet down around home. Like, as you said, it seems like the back arse of nowhere. That's what it is. There was local soccer teams, GAA, but there's not much. Like,
before your fight, I noticed that you were training with Gunnar Nelson. Having someone like that around the gym and some of that level, what's that like?
Oh, that was incredible. I didn't know he was coming, and I didn't get to train with him the first week, and then I seen he was there another week, so I got plenty of rounds in with him then. But great experience. Like, so what was he? At one time was he top 5 in the UFC? But great, feeling that level, and such a nice guy too. I want to get over there for maybe a few weeks or a month, train over in Iceland now if I get the chance this year.
Train over with the Mjolnir team and stay there for quite a while.
I'd like to do that.
They have a massive setup over there as well. It's kind of like, it seems as though it's a place where a lot of it, like there's a link between SBG and there. It'd be really good to go to, I imagine.
Exactly. Yeah, there's always SBG fighters going over, and their facilities seem incredible. And then on the other side of it too, I'd love to see part of Iceland. You know, very scenic by the looks of it.
Absolutely beautiful country. And one we have here, what's the story with the massive lats? Do you spend a lot of time lifting weights as well? And is that why you moved to lightweight after the time of featherweight before as an amateur?
The massive lat. I don't know. I lift weights twice a week. I don't know where the lats come from, but
yeah, you're a unit of a man, Darragh. Like, did you spend all your during the injury time, the downtime? Was it just a case of hitting the gym, or was the story? Were you chewing protein bars?
No, I didn't really lift weights until I went down to SBG, and then I was given a program, so I started doing it, and I felt better. I felt stronger for it, so keep it up.
Just genetically superior to us mere mortals, is it?
Oh, that's it. Sure, up here, we don't have
something in the water in Donegal, I'd say.
That's all it is. Water, that's it. Don't know.
But you spoke, Darragh, you know, about wanting to be active. I'm curious, you know, you didn't have a name in your post-fight interview. Do you have a name now, or what way would you like to progress during in Bellator, really, in the lightweight division? Are you looking to slow build yourself into the top 10 rankings and stuff like that, or are you looking to come straight for the title in the next couple of years?
Like, when you ask me who do I want to fight in the lightweight, I actually don't know anyone outside of the top 5 or 6, you know. So I couldn't really give you a name. I haven't looked at anyone, and I wasn't going to go calling for a belt after a debut and all, you know. So to be honest, I still haven't looked. 4-fight deal. I'm sure they're not going to throw me in the deep end too soon. I'm not going to complain. And then, you know, if I'm sitting 5-0, I'll start making noise. I'll start calling boys out in top 10, whatever. You know, we'll have a bit of momentum behind me. And why not make a title run if I'm there? You know, a couple of years, 3 years.
Nice.
Still young.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, there's no major rush in that at all. And I mean, I know that we're looking forward to seeing you getting back in there again. And I hope you don't have to wait till September. I hope that we get to see you soon, and hopefully they'll maybe put you on a card. I don't know how the London card is situated. I don't know if there's any space on that. Has there been any talks maybe for you to travel over there and to compete on that card? You know, you came out of that Junior Morgan fight pretty much unscathed, I bet, eh?
Yeah, no, my body's fine. Like, I'm perfect. London would be perfect. That would be ideal. I think I'd get a good crowd heading over with me. London would be perfect. Paris, you know, Paris or London. London would be my first choice if I can. I'm gonna say that to John again now, and hopefully I can make something happen. But fingers crossed.
Perfect. Fingers crossed for sure. And we won't keep you any longer, Darragh. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. Once again, a massive congratulations to you on the multi-fight deal. Well deserved. You're one of the top talents coming out of Ireland right now. We're all really excited to see how you progress in Bellator, and we really wish you all the best. Is there anyone you'd like to shout out or anything before you leave us today?
Usually I give a shout out to my sponsors, but I always forget one or two. So I'll shout out to all my sponsors, just, and each of them, they know who they are. I'll not go naming everyone and forget. So, and thanks very much for having me on, and look forward to the next few fights, and hopefully you're just as excited for them.
Absolutely, and we look forward to having you on again sometime down the line as your career progresses, Darragh. Thanks so much once more. All the best to you, man. Hopefully you get that fight in London or in Paris, and we're really looking forward to seeing you getting in there and competing again. Brilliant. Thanks very much. And it was great to see here Darragh Kelly there with that interview. A nice fella. Like we said before the interview, we're looking forward to seeing him compete. He was talking on that interview about getting possible position on the Bellator London card or maybe the Paris card, which would be great to see. Do you think that might be a possibility, Andy?
Do I give my honest answer here? No, I don't think it is, which is shit because it should be, but I don't think it is. I don't think Bellator have shown any interest in putting Irish fighters on cards outside of Ireland, and that's just based on history. So I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but I don't see him on these cards. So I expect to see Darragh in September, but I want to see him on whatever card is next. Get him on the London card, get him on the Paris card, get him on any card before then, because these fighters need to fight more frequently. And what's the point in having them signed if they're not going to be fighting 3-4 times a year, if that's what they want? So petition to get Darragh Kelly on the next European card. Let's start it.
Let's fucking do it, is right. Yeah, you're dead right. History would suggest that he's going to have a difficult time, but hopefully he can get chatting there. I know he said he was going to talk to his coach John Kavanagh. Hopefully they can come to an agreement and try make something happen on one of those cards, because if you're an Irish talent and you are signing up for Bellator, especially early on in your career, you just can't afford to be fighting once or twice per year. You need to be getting I think it's pivotal at the start of your professional career to get looking for at least 3 fights in a year if you're injury free. And I think Darragh came out with that fight with Junior Morgan pretty much unscathed, as he said himself, and it'd be great to see him compete. And I'm not too sure how set in stone other fighters in the past, maybe they've stuck James Gallagher on a London card and stuff like that. So I hope that he doesn't have to push too hard. I hope he's not left on the sidelines until September, and I hope that we get to see him pretty soon.
And obviously we did see Irish fighters fighting we saw Irish fighters fighting in Paris and in Milan, but that was around when COVID had just hit, right? So it was a little bit of a different scenario.
Yeah, 100%. And hopefully, look, if they're going to be putting on more European cards, hopefully it opens the door for more Irish fighters to compete, because we want to see them on the big shows, and that's about it. I mean, I don't think there's anything else to say about the matter as we trudge along into the breaking news stories of the last couple of weeks. And the first one we'll chat about is Tommy Quinn, who is signed with KSW. I think that Jake, our good friend Jake Smith, broke that news with us but last week, I believe that news came out. KSW kind of alluded with the Shamrock sign and the 4-leaf clover sign. I mean, fair play to Tommy for getting signed up, but I was expecting them to announce a big show, to be honest. Were you surprised with the announcement, Andy?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know who you were asking there. I'm happy for Tommy. Not the Shamrock emoji news I was expecting, in that I don't think in recent years, Tommy Quinn hasn't been very active in the Irish scene. He's not the first name you would think of. When they tweet out a Shamrock emoji, you're thinking, okay, is a big show coming to Dublin? Are they, looking to sign, I don't know, maybe a Richie Smullen or something like this, who's just kind of won 2 belts. So, but look, fair play to Tommy, and great to see more Irish on KSW.
Yeah, indeed. It's good to see the roly-poly kid, as he's called, back in action. He hasn't fought since 2019, I believe. So good to see him. Caoilte, Sam Slater picked up a good win in the UK recently as well. Tell us a little bit about Sam.
Wasn't in the UK, it was in Finland, actually. So he was over in Helsinki fighting at Cage 53. I think he took the fight on relatively short notice because it was only announced there, I think, last week. He went in. It's his first fight now since 2019, I believe. So it's been a bit of time out of the cage for him. He's come back off he was on a 2-fight skid, came back and got the win, ground and pound finish over a Estonian fighter. So look, it's good to see him back in there. He's been I was chatting to him and he was saying that he was recently training over in Geneva in Switzerland with I hope I say a second name. Is it Elliot Levy? His gym, he set up in a new gym out in Switzerland, which is pretty cool. So he was out there training with him. Elliot was in his corner. They both flew out, and it's a good finish on a relatively good promotion as well. So nice to get back in the win books, and it's great to see him back in there after such a long time out. It's tough to come back after just so much. The sport moves fast. It's an unforgiving sport, so it's good. You need to get back in. You need to stay active.
Good, yeah, no, it sure does, and good for Sam for getting back into the win column. Andy, news you brought to all of our attention: Lee Hammond is back again. He's a quick turnaround. We don't have to wait too long. He's facing Bogdan Bajan on March 18th. Excited to see him back so soon.
Yeah, 100%. Great to see him back so active. He only fought 2 weeks ago. And we're going to see him in 2 weeks' time, so this is great. It's kind of the polar opposite to what we were just talking about with, and we're just speculating, obviously, with Darragh Kelly and the rest of the guys in Bellator. Very, very smart from Lee to sign that one-fight deal with Bellator. It allows him to take control of his own career. It allows him to choose when he fights. I think this fight has actually been lined up for a while. It was just a case that Heroes Fight League were kind of sitting on it because they're saying, right, well, the big news about Bellator is out there, so we'll hold off, let him get that fight out of the way, and then release this. So yeah, coming in against Bogdan Blajan. They have a lot of lightweights, I believe, on their roster as well that are kind of there's a bit of a round robin almost going on. So I wouldn't be surprised if if we do see Lee continuing on with Heroes Fight League to see him fight for a belt in his next fight. I think that would be pretty likely if he gets the win here, and I'd favour him to do so.
Yeah, just on that note as well, another fighter that you have been speaking to, you had an interview out this week, was Dario Sinagoga, who will be fighting for the BFL interim lightweight title. Andy, I know you had the chance to speak with him. That interview will be up on SevereMMA YouTube. What's your thoughts on Dario coming into this fight? And it could be a good opportunity in the horizon for him, eh?
Yeah, it's a big opportunity. It's an interesting one. He speaks a little bit this in the interview where, he's 33, so he's, I wouldn't say long in the tooth, but he's certainly not young in his, as MMA fighters go. So he has the opportunity here. He's fighting for the interim BFL title, but he also has the opportunity potentially to fight on Dana White's Contender Series if he wins this. And now I don't know if that's fact or not, but that's kind of the talk at the moment, in that their previous champion won the belt, and then he went and fought on Dana White's Contender Series. Now, I think he lost that fight, but he might be getting another crack, which is why the title has been vacated, and he's fighting Cameron, who's coming down a weight class to challenge for this one. So it will be interesting to see what happens here. He's undefeated 5-0 in MMA or in his pro career. So very excited to see him. He's a guy flying under the radar in Irish MMA for, he's fighting out in Diaz Combat Sports in Vancouver. He was talking about, how he played rugby growing up, and he was a break dancer or sorry, a street. I can't remember if it was a break dancing or. Anyway, it was something like that. I think it was breakdance. I need to go back and watch the interview myself. It was I'm forgetting things now, but an interesting path to MMA anyway. So I'm excited to see him, and it's on UFC Fight Pass, so it'll be on this Thursday. So this comes out on a Wednesday. So tomorrow, if you're listening today, when the episode has come out, it's tomorrow. If you're listening a day late, it's today. So check out Battlefield Fight League. I think it's BFL 71, I think it is, on UFC Fight Pass, and he's the main event, so go check him out and check out the interview. Nice.
Shout out to Premier FC, Ireland's newest mixed martial arts promotion, run by Colin Marr, who we've seen pick up gold medal at the Nationals. It's great to see another Irish promotion kick off and start. And I was talking to him, and he said that they have another big show coming up in May that he's really excited about. The results from the very first Premier FC card that can be found on SevereMMA. Dean Lowe picked up a first round stoppage in the main event that night. Jordan Inata defeated Reese Valentine by TKO in round 1, and Damien McKenna defeated Jared Ryan by decision in that fight, in that cold card, which had Pimp to Warrior and grappling matchups and everything. But you can check out all those results over on SevereMMA.com, and fair play to Colin for getting that off the ground, and excited to see where it goes. It's nice to have a promotion kickstart again, Caoilte, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it's good to have some MMA down these parts of the country, because we always have to travel to Dublin, and it's it's a trek up there now, so it's great, and it's great to see it kind of happening. Fair play to Colin. He's taking it upon himself to, it's a big risk. You can lose money in these things. You could make a loss off these. Just give fighters opportunities. It's very tough to put on. So credit where it's due, and fair play. And hopefully he can put on a few more. I think he's a date brewing. He hasn't said an exact one yet, but I think there's another show going to be announced for sometime this year.
And we'll round it off with 2 honorary Irishmen. Brad Katona will be fighting this coming Friday, March 11th, for the vacant bantamweight championships against Hazma Kohij. Brad, obviously, we've seen in the UFC and stuff like that. It's great to see him in there getting a shot at another belt again. I'm excited to see Brad in action. He's always good. Obviously, training with SBG. We have the Twitter joke with him that he's an Offaly man by heart. But it's good to see Brad getting back in there, getting a crack at the title, Andy.
Yeah, 100%, and I think he's undefeated, right? He's won his last 2 since parting ways with the UFC, so he seems to be doing quite well, and a big promotion that outside of the UFC, Brave are a big enough promotion, so perhaps he could win this belt, and maybe we could see him back with the UFC. You never know.
Absolutely, and Caoilte, there's another honorary. Marksum Zarumkid is also fighting recently, or coming up as well.
Yeah, I don't know an opponent yet. I just know that he's scheduled to fight at the Battle Arena event that on March 19th. I think it's the same one that Dylan Chuke's fighting on. So yeah, he's returned. He's training out of Cooper's in Navan, and he lost his pro debut. It was on Battle Arena. He had most of his fights on there, but as an amateur as well. So it's just, he said he's hoping to get back in actually and get the win this time and improve on his previous performance.
Nice, and that wraps us up for episode 4. No Q&A this week. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We packed it full of cage conflict action. The 2 interviews with Cameron and with Darragh. Thanks to the guys for coming on and joining us. We'll be back again.
I think every week we're like, right, let's keep it under 2 hours this week, and I think this might be our longest one yet.
It's like the Auld Triangle experience now. Yeah, I know, it's getting ridiculous. So thanks to everybody for listening and for tuning in. And if you liked what you hear, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button on YouTube, on Spotify, on SoundCloud, on iTunes, wherever you're listening to us. Rate the show, share it with a friend. Share, retweet it if you see it up. We really appreciate everyone's support.
If you have any suggestions for what we can do to make the show better, always feel free to fire them in, because we want to improve. We want to we want to grow. So it's early days still, but we're delighted to be here, and we're enjoying doing it. So we'll be here for a long time. Absolutely, we're definitely going to be here for a long time. And if there's anyone you'd like for us to speak, obviously we said before, what we do is we want to shine a light on the Irish MMA promotions and up and coming Irish MMA fighters, and from the amateur scenes and from the professional scene as well. And it's our great pleasure to have the guests on. And once again, I'd like to thank Cameron for coming on, and like to thank Darragh as well for coming on and joining us today. We'll be back in another 2 weeks' time. We'll be talking all things Cage Warriors and UAE Warriors. Oh, hang on. We can't wrap up just yet. Cage Warriors.
Oh, lads.
Oh God. Right. So we've got Decky McAleenan coming back. Decky McAleenan's looking to find a bit of momentum, really. Decky's long been one of the most entertaining fighters on the local amateur scene in his come up, but since joining Cage Warriors, it's there's been trading wins and losses, and on Decky's day he can go in there with anyone. But it just, on some fights, it just hasn't been happening, and he hasn't been getting the results that he wanted. So he's back in there against Dan Collins at Cage Warriors 134. Because by the time our next episode comes out, that law already happened. But I'll kick it over to you guys real quick before we wrap up. We can't not acknowledge Paul Hughes fighting to unify the titles, and I'll have an interview coming out with Paul Hughes on the SevereMMA YouTube channel this week, so look out for that one. He's raring to go. How excited are you guys for this? This is a huge fight, not only for Irish MMA but in Cage Warriors history. This is a massive fight, and Paul Hughes has a huge opportunity to stake his claim as the undisputed champion and then potentially get signed to the UFC. Are you guys excited for this?
Oh, I can't wait. Actually, I can't believe that we were about to skip over it. We did speak about it at the time. Paul Hughes is a huge opportunity here now to really seal himself. Whatever my opinion is on it, I think what Paul Hughes wants to do is he wants to get back this win. And I think a win here over Jordan Vucenic would seal a deal maybe to the UFC. And, it would make it 1-1 with Vucenic. Would they want to do the trilogy? I'm not too sure Paul would want to do that. I'm not sure if he spoke to you about that, Andy. But I think this is one of the best fights that you're going to see this month, to be honest. I think Paul is going to be coming in here with a point to prove. Vucenic is going to be coming in here with the confidence, knowing that he's beaten Paul before. That was a really close fight first time around. And I mean, it's an absolutely fantastic fight. And I'll just hand it over to Caoilte just to get his opinion.
I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm actually going. So that's...
You!
Yeah, that's going to be... get to watch Paul Hughes fight live is going to be incredible. Can't wait to sit there and hear the Auld Triangle ring out throughout the... I think it's in the O2, isn't it? But yeah, look, winner of this fight needs to go to the UFC. That's the way I'm looking at it. It's like there's no other way. There's no two ways about it. Whoever wins, send him to the UFC because... what a fight. And Paul, I think he's been through so much with with his hands and everything. And so to him to reach this point where he's literally probably one fight away from a massive contract, life-changing contract really, is huge. And it's one of those fights you don't want to miss. UFC Fight Pass again. It's for everyone, everyone needs to tune into it.
And I'm not saying this because it's my interview that I want to interview that I did with them, but go check it out because I'm very excited, even more so now after speaking with Paul. In his eyes, he's the champion. It was a contentious decision at the time against Jordan Vucenic. He's going in here to finish this fight. He does not want this to go to the judges. He's coming in to finish this fight. UFC Fight Pass have been spotlighting Paul, or sorry, is it Fight? Yeah, fightpass.com have been spotlighting Paul Hughes in a number of articles as this, exciting fighter to watch. He's signed to, how am I forgetting this now? Paradigm. I think Paul Hughes, if he wins here, is going to the UFC. So this is a massive moment for Irish MMA right now, and a huge fight. So I can't wait.
Vucenic is serious talent too. I mean,
yeah, he's no slouch.
Absolutely. I mean, he showcased that in the first fight too. And I mean, I'm very curious to see how Paul comes in and approaches this fight. I can see it going all the way again. I mean, these two are very well matched. I think I'd probably be leaning obviously towards Paul Hughes coming into this fight. I think he learned a massive deal in that first fight, and I think he kind of in some ways left it behind him in the first fight, and I'm sure that he's been looking to rectify that. And I'm really excited for this fight, and I think you guys hit the nail on the head. Is that this is not only a fight for the Cage Warriors featherweight title, it's also a fight for the opportunity to get yourself a UFC contract, and all eyes are on this. It's one of the biggest fights in Europe of the year, if you ask me.
Yeah, but you nailed it there as well, Ian, because, and I know this isn't Irish MMA now, but Jordan Vucenic was slept on going into the Paul Hughes fight. He was slept on going into the Morgan Charrier fight, and he won both of them. Whether you agree or disagree with the scorecard for the Hughes fight, he is the champion. He is the outright champion right now. Hughes is the interim champion, so it's all on the line here, and I can't wait.
That's it, and that's a perfect way to wrap up episode 4 of the Auld Triangle. Hit the like button, hit the share button and subscribe button, give us a follow, and thank you everybody for listening, and we'll catch you in another 2 weeks time. All the best, take care, good luck, and thank you.